Welcome to Town of Monuments Town Council study session on our temporary sign code. Mr. Ungeleiter, you're going to present to us some things about signs, right?
Right. So, temporary sign code. In? Yes. Okay. I've been asked to, way too close, to talk about the temporary sign code. It's supposed to be it's a brief, so please ask questions if you have any, but I'm going to run through what our sign code is. First, that'll work better. Sure.
We can fix that.
So chapter 1806 is provides our regulations for signs. I think the key elements to this is that the regulations are designed to safeguard health, safety, convenience, order, and welfare of its residents. Focus on its residents. Some of the points of that ordinance is to make sure that those signs do not create a hazard, that they don't become confusing and distracting to motorists passing by. They don't impair drivers' ability to see pedestrians, other obstacles, or other vehicles, or interfere with traffic safety. The police chief is here today too. If he wants, you can add anytime you want to. If there's anything I miss,
No, thanks. You're doing great.
Thanks, bud. But it's all the sign code's also to help promote the efficient communication of messages to ensure that persons exposed to these signs are not overwhelmed by the number of messages presented. Some of my favorite signs are on this slide over to the right. Additional purposes is to protect the public welfare, improve visual environment, and enhance the appearance and economic value of the landscape by reducing and preventing sign clutter. The third picture to the south is probably one that we'll be watching for in the near future with the political environment or election environment coming up. Minimizing incompatibility between signs and their surroundings, and to ensure that the town's right-of-ways are used in a manner consistent with the public interest. And as always, we're looking ways to enhance property values and business opportunities and foster economic development while providing adequate standards for the display of signs. Yes. I think that's something that's stated throughout the code, and at the very beginning of the municipal code, there is a section about public interest, but I think safety, welfare, and I think I have it right here at the beginning. Public welfare, safeguard the health, safety, convenience, and order and welfare to its residents. And I think that the last part, the last item under purpose is to provide citizens with within the town of Monument ample opportunity to exercise their rights to free speech. It's not something we turn away from, but what we do identify throughout this code is we do support free speech, but we want it on private property, not in the right of way. There are signs that you can put up on private property that are considered exempt by our code. Of course, the signs that are put up by government, any signs that are meant to provide an indication of something you shouldn't do or you should do for safety. Signs that are displayed on legally operated commercial vehicles are not governed by this ordinance. Flags that are less than 60 square feet in area, fixed to a permanent flagpole that is less than 35 feet in height. Temporary decorations, handheld signs, incidental signs, sandwich board signs, site signs, and window signs and yard signs. There are asterisks on this slide. There are sections that do say what you can and cannot do. Sandwich board signs, of course, can't create a safety risk on the sidewalk. They can't be taller than me. There are standards set for those. The following signs are prohibited. Signs that are signs that are listed in the code, not meeting the requirements of the our regional building department building code. Signs that obstruct access to or impede ingress or egress from a building or a space. Signs which are structurally unsafe or a hazard to safety. Signs that impede pedestrian or vehicular movement. Signs that project, overhang, or otherwise located in the public right of way. That's a very key element there. Signs above, on or above the roof of a roof line. Signs that flash, rotate, move, or create the illusion of movement. Again, that's a clutter and a danger. It draws the attention of a driver or someone from the road or taking. We want to keep the area safe. Signs with a mirrored surface. Usually that's tied to reflection and something that might grab your attention while you're driving. My favorite one, I didn't know about the term bandit signs before I got here. I've called them many other things. Bandit signs, cabinet, inflatable signs, portable, and wind signs. Bandit signs are the we'll clean your house, and it's stuck at the corner of it's just a little sign that's stuck in the ground and says, come give us a call at this phone number. Those are illegal. We don't allow those here. And off-premises signs, unless it's approved through a planning and development or some other document through the town, we don't allow a sign at one corner advertising a business somewhere else. If you want a temporary sign, you have to have consent by your property owner. Illumination of that temporary sign is not allowed. Temporary is considered no more than 90 days. Temporary signs include fabric signs or banners, sandwich boards, site signs, and yard signs. And then throughout the code, and I could go into this if you'd like me to, the code does provide specific size and number and location regulations for each of the different types of temporary signs. So in this case, there's an illustration in our code that says what a fabric sign can be, where it can be placed, and how long it can be placed. Same thing with sandwich boards. They're where they can be located, specifically in our downtown business district and pedestrian areas in our commercial interchange zoning district. No more than 30 days without a permit and up to 90 days with a permit. You get one per business. The maximum size for that sign is 6 square feet, and it cannot be more than 4 feet in height. That's our sign code. So I hope if I took it too fast, I'd be glad to talk about it more, but it's very specific. It's actually very easy to regulate and cover. Last week, I'm not sure if that report made it to you, but our community service officer in the building or police department picked up quite a few in the public right of way. We do everything we can to keep the clutter of signs out of our right of way in right of ways that the town owns and maintains. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So unfortunately, I mean, I consider it unfortunate. The Supreme Court ruling on content that can't be regulated creates issues specifically in the right of way and other places. But because it used to be that we could regulate garage sale signs, they could go up on the weekends from 5 to Sunday at 7, whatever. Election signs could go up during election season for a certain amount of time. And you could be super specific on all of that. But now it's almost like an all or nothing proposition. And therefore, we have to take certain stands on what can be in the right of way or not, or we could just end up with clutter all year round. And I assume that when this was passed a couple of years ago, that came into play to talk about it as to whether or not it should be allowed in the right of ways at all. And they decided not to. And It's got its downside, so it's a pro and con thing, but I don't see where we have a lot of room to move this around, quite frankly. If we're here to discuss whether we should change this or not.
Yeah, if I may, Mayor Pro Tem King, this is a typical sign ordinance, a typical modern sign ordinance. You can certainly get into more for temporary signs. You can certainly get into more detail, but this is something that I've seen in multiple communities. And I agree, it's all or nothing. You can't pick and choose what content can be in the street or in the public right of way.
Right.
You can no more than you can pick and choose what the specific communications that are occurring in the sign. You can say the number, you can say the types of information, but you can't start telling them that it can only be a certain color. You can't tell them how it's specifically, because that is a freedom of information issue. But in the right of way, it's what I've seen is typically an all or nothing.
Yeah, and I did a lot of research on this when we talked about it last time, and very few municipalities allowed signs in the right of way anymore, just because it's too hard to regulate it.
What about, so I know we can't regulate the content, but at what point do certain words become obscene or vulgar to where they can be regulated, or can they not be regulated either?
Mayor LaKind, I'd probably have to turn to our attorney who's not here tonight to ask him where that threshold would be. I mean, I know what bothers me might not be the same that bothers you.
Right.
So that would be difficult for me to make that call. If I were to see a sign or was reported that there was a sign out there that was inappropriate, I'd probably shoot it up the ladder and make sure that we're all on the same page before we go after someone's freedom of speech rights.
Okay. So I think, this all stemmed from the previous, a complaint that was filed. Dan, you weren't here for this, but it was a little bit, it was during a school election, which would have been April, I think. And the previous board had opted to not take the advice of the town attorney and allow a suspension of our ordinance during the previous election season. This council decided to go back to enforcing the ordinance, and it got some people very upset. And so we got to the point, I guess, where the conversation turned to our attorney and said we should probably have a session about this and discuss it. Obviously we're not making a decision today unless someone wants to put it under council authorizations to modify the ordinance. But for me, I am fine with the refresher and informed again. I know Mr. Kimble, you showed up a few minutes late, but he just basically reviewed some of the key highlights of the ordinance itself, which basically puts us on par with the county, the state, and multiple municipalities around the Pikes Peak region and others where no signage is allowed in the town's right of way.
Well, I have a couple of comments. Some might not be well received, but this ordinance, if you go back even further than April, where there was a complaint, if you go back to the last election, prior to the election, the then board, because there was some misunderstanding, the then board decided to not enforce the code, if you will, suspend it, and then it was then to take place after the election was over. It wasn't determined, for my memory, it wasn't determined the exact date of when it was to be effective or to start to be enforced. It was just decided that it would be enforced after the election was over. So a date was never determined. So there's always been this ordinance, and everyone agrees to it. And I understand that, now if you see signs up that, you go online, to log that. And then, although we don't have a code enforcement officer at this time,
We have 1 out of 2.
well, I'm sorry, 1 out of 2, although they may be overtaxed with trying to go out and collect all these various signs, whether about new home construction, puppies for sale, yard sales, whatever. I know that could be very taxing, but so, and I know that we're on par with the rest of El Paso County, so I'm kind of shaking my head as to why we're having a study session about this when there's an ordinance in place that should be enforced or regulated as best possible, although it's very hard to do. But if people log in online, that's a tracking system to be done. And I think that this, again, for a study session for this, although I don't think this should be a study session. I think this should have been put into the agenda to discuss, so we can reinforce and make a comment, because at a study session, you can't sit there and go, you can't vote, you can't give direction, you can't do anything. So in order for us to do that, we're going to have to put it on the agenda. So we're pretty much doing work twice on something that's already, what a policy is already written.
I don't think we need to do it twice. We had just informed the public that we were going to have a study session. And if they wanted to come and talk about it, they could. And this happened to be the date for that. I don't think we need to revisit it again unless we're going to propose changing it.
So if I may, last year, we actually talked about this last year, setting up a way to gauge the interest of the public in changing it. And I think that was the goal tonight was, if we put this out and we filled the house with a bunch of people that wanted to change it, then you would take it a next step.
Right.
But being as it is tonight, maybe you can make your decision based on people not being here.
Okay.
But we do have one person, maybe he would like to weigh in.
Are you here for the study session or are you here for the regular meeting, sir? There's no court tonight. I've seen you here before too. Yeah, I ran into you in the lobby and you were asking questions. You were trying to figure out where the courts were. Yeah, I think so. Wasn't that long ago. Courts are what day? They're a Wednesday, right? Third Wednesday is court. You're more than welcome to hang out with us, but I'm sure you probably have some better things to do with your time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Check that paper to see where it says.
His name for me. Yeah, I'll figure out what that.
You guys want to play court?
No, not
qualified.
No, neither am I. Okay, well, look, I agree, Ken, that unless there's a reason for us, we all agreed to enforce it, right? That was an agreement that we wanted to go back to enforcing the ordinance. I don't personally see a reason to change it, and since nobody is here to complain, and threatened lawsuits were never filed, we should just leave the ordinance alone.
right. There's no real reason to.
Now we got to start all over again.
Yeah.
Holy.
Good evening.
Soft shoe, please.
Yeah. That was the beginning.
Is there any other?
Well, I
Thoughts?
guess I really don't understand why we would even talk about rescinding something that's a law.
We wanted to gauge the public response.
And we did it in response
I
to
think
last,
I think we're gauging the public's response right now.
okay,
I think Bob
I'm with
suggested
you.
us meeting at some point.
Right.
And so now we've met.
Hey.
yep, you checked the box.
So
Thank you.
thank you for sharing that. If you could send a copy of that to the council so that, especially for those that came in late, they could see what you presented. But no, I just want to make sure they have it.
I'd be glad to. I worked really hard finding those photographs and dancing signs. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we
Thank
will
you.
adjourn until 6:30.
Ooh.
I call to order this regular meeting of the Monument Town Council, June 17th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Mr. Ready, begin.
Ms. Erickson, will you take roll?
Councilmember Chronic,
Here.
Councilmember Romanella,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Here,
Councilmember Abbott,
Here.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Here.
Mayor LaKind,
Here.
Councilmember Kimball.
Here,
Okay, first up, disclosures of conflict of interest. Are there any council members that have disclosed conflicts of interest? Ms. Ulmer, you're online, right?
I am, and no, Mayor, nobody has disclosed any conflicts.
Excellent, thank you. Before us, we have an agenda and a consent agenda. Are there any questions or modifications to the agenda?
actually, I have a couple of questions about the consent agenda, if I could.
Okay. Fire away.
Okay. And maybe Jeremiah, if you could come up for a minute. He's put on the spot. So the first question that I have is with the chip seal. And so that contract is not to exceed, is that correct?
Correct.
Because there's a like a Davis-Bacon rule in there that could be adding 25% to it. Does that not apply for us?
This is not a Davis-Bacon or a federal job, so no.
Okay. And then the second question that I have is on the truck. I know you guys have budgeted for that already, so I'm not here to argue about that. But the question that I have is, because it seems like, you know, we're a town of 12,000 people more or less, and we have basically 2 road departments. Is there a way to share this truck with Triview or charge them for use of it or vice versa? I mean, right. But for sure, Triview, I mean, is there a way that we can recoup some of that money from sharing it with other, particularly Triview, but anybody else?
I will attempt to answer that question. I think the answer is, I don't have an answer for you directly. That's something that I would prefer to consult with the attorney about in terms of the agreement. Triview does receive funding from the town to maintain the corridors of which are in their district.
Right.
And so essentially it would be just sending money back to some degree to the town.
Mhm.
In terms of, I'm sure that there's probably some mechanism that we could, find later on. But at this point in time, there is no such agreement, and so I don't believe that we could, without.
Is there a way to lease it to them if they need it? Or cost?
Not really, because
Okay.
we're buying it outright and
Yeah.
then fully depreciating it over time. So
Okay.
it's not really a lease. We're buying the unit outright.
Okay.
Now there could be some opportunity down the road to discuss potentially an additional agreement, with a reimbursement,
Yeah.
form of an agreement like we have with our engineering inspector or engineering assistant, Tom Martinez. But again, that would take time to vet through, and really our struggle right now is that, let's be honest, roads in Colorado are some of the worst in the nation, and the equipment that we currently have is just not adequate to do the job. We're mobilizing multiple units to accomplish what I would consider a fairly routine function. So this is really about efficiency and modern, creating a modern fleet for the town and adding some safety mechanisms for the crews that are actually out on the road.
Right, and I'm not here to dispute whether the truck's needed or not. It just seems like if they bought one and we bought one for a place that's this small, if there was just some way we could combine resources to some degree and spread that out.
If you could explore that with trying to see if they'd be willing to front half the cost with something where we're not paying for the full truck just for us. I don't know.
Can we explore that under
Yes.
a different section? Because we're trying to approve the agenda.
Yep.
Right. So those are the only two questions that I had.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Make a motion to approve the agenda and the consent agenda as presented.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimpel,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes,
Councilmember Cronin.
Yes.
excellent.
Oh, and before we go on, I just have one,
wait,
I'm sorry. This is just a typo. This is just a typo. In the minutes, under public comments, it listed Tom Blunk as Matthew Blunk, so I just wanted to make that correction.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that sidebar. Next up, oaths of office. Chief Regan, you've got a new officer to swear in. Come on down. Chief, can you move within the camera site so
Yes, I can.
they could see them? Cool.
Ready? Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear
Solemnly swear
that I will support and bear
that I will support and bear
true faith and allegiance
faith and allegiance
to the Constitution and laws
to the Constitution and laws
of the United States of America
of the United States of America,
and the state of Colorado,
the state of Colorado,
and to the ordinances of the town of Monument,
to the ordinances of the town of Monument,
and that I will defend and protect the lives,
that I will defend and protect the lives,
safety, and property
safety, and property
of the people of Monument,
of people of Monument,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
that I will faithfully
the duties of the office of peace officer
duties of the office of peace officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Got it, Michael? You're good. Just try not to pierce them. I've never seen this go smoothly, so that was pretty good. Congratulations. I'll take that.
We not get any words of where Officer Byrne is from or
Somebody get that word back here.
You get to introduce yourself.
It's not that easy.
yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Eduardo. I was originally born and raised in Panama City, Panama. I used to be a firefighter there. I met my beautiful wife, Bailey. She's back there in Mexico. A few years ago, around 7 years ago, we moved to Florida, got married. I joined the military, got stationed at Fort Carson, and I've always wanted to be a police officer. And Monument, it's just a great place. The past 4 weeks, I've been going on ride-alongs, talking to people, just getting to know everyone, and it's just an amazing place. And I'm super excited. Thank you all for the opportunity, and I just look forward to meeting you. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other?
The next one.
Oh, I see. Yes, life-saving award.
Oh, life-saving award. Okay, we're moving on to presentations. Chief Reagan.
Mr. Gensel, you want to come up? So one of our officers is being recognized tonight with a life-saving award from Mr. John Gensel with UC Health, and I will turn it over to him.
Council members, members of the public of Monument. Here tonight to recognize one of the police officers actually snatched from,
I don't like that.
Sounds like a kidnap.
Let's see, you can't use kidnap either.
No, no.
Relocated.
Relocated
Poached.
from Manitou Springs to Monument. So an M to an M, go over that way. But anyway, we're gonna recognize Dustin Thompson here in just a moment. But I want to tell you a little bit about what the award is that he's getting. He's getting a life-saving award. It's called, my colleague Ginger, when at UC Health resurrected this. And of course, it's called the Phoenix Award. Now, the Phoenix is a mythological creature from the Southwest. It actually dates back to the Greeks, but it represents rising from the ashes and being reborn again. We give out this life-saving award for those people who have undergone or have experienced death, have been brought to the hospital, resuscitated successfully, got resuscitated out in the field, otherwise they wouldn't have made it to the hospital, and then discharged, as we put it, alive and neurologically intact, meaning that they go back to a full life. And Dustin was part of that. So I'm going to go a little bit and I've got the coin in my pocket. Reach in here, don't shoot me. Phoenix Award, it's given to EMS personnel, and we consider law enforcement as part of the EMS response team. Also gave this to the dispatcher as well, that because it started out as a 911 call. Now I'll go back in. So it was September 28th last year. And it was a beautiful day. This family had traveled, and as you know, you get a lot of travelers through here, Air Force Academy, our beautiful mountain, Pikes Peak, and we get a lot of low-level people. This family came from Texas. And in cardiology, we call it the failed Pikes Peak Summit cardiac stress test. This family had gone up to the top of Pikes Peak. He started developing chest discomfort, and the family drove down and thought they would go to the hospital. Along the way, of course, gonna go Highway 24. They made it as far as Manitou. And in fact, they pulled over at the Sinclair station at Highway 24 and Manitou Avenue. From there, this gentleman suffered some shortness of breath, more chest pain, and collapsed. And so the 911 call went in. And as you know, oftentimes law enforcement beats the big red truck and the ambulance. Guys who have a little bit more driving skills, it's a little easier to maneuver a patrol car. But saving that life starts with the basics, CPR, AED, those kinds of things. This gentleman suffered a cardiac arrest. He was successfully resuscitated with the help of Dustin and the team member from the Manitou Springs Fire Department that responded as well as the 911 dispatcher. And so today we're going to honor Dustin for his efforts during that resuscitation. This gentleman, not only was he brought to the hospital, he had, as many of you may or may not know, the heart's fed by three arteries that feed down the heart. This gentleman had a blockage in one of the arteries going down the front of the heart, which is what we call the widowmaker. And if not successfully intervened on in a timely fashion, the person's going to stay dead. Well, he was brought back to life. They rushed him into the cath lab. They fixed his artery. 2 days later, he was discharged alive with his family, and they drove back to Texas. And he's being followed up by his cardiologist in Dallas-Fort Worth. And so he's still doing very well. So in honor of that and recognizing that part of that team that brought this person back from the ashes, so to speak, I want to recognize Officer Dustin Thompson.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Coached.
Happened to be in the right place at the right time, and the right people responded very quickly. And time is muscle in cardiology, and you help preserve that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Don't go anywhere, Dustin. Since I've claimed you as my own and stolen you from Manitou, I wanted to present you with our life-saving award. Thank you. Yeah, you want to show it to the crowd. It's basically a ribbon and an award, and then he gets a ribbon he can wear on his uniform or his dress uniform. But
Thank you so much.
yeah, congratulations. Thanks for coming over.
Welcome. Like it when we have awards like that.
Yes.
It's awesome. All right, next up, we have Girls of the West, Aid to the Girls of the West, Pikes Peak Range Riders and the Pikes Peak or Bus Rodeo. I think we've met Miss Toman before. Oh, okay. Who would be speaking? Okay.
I don't know how you follow that, but great job.
I don't think there's any way.
There's no way to follow that. I'm Greg Bunwine with the Range Riders here in Pikes Peak area. We started in 1949 with the sole intent to support and promote the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo. Our inaugural ride lasted 3 days and was a PR event to the top of Pikes Peak to reach out to surrounding counties and smaller towns, inviting them to our rodeo, which is the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo. Later in 2000, the Range Riders formed the Pikes Peak Range Rider Foundation, which is located east of Colorado Springs, which is now our home, which we call Latigo. Latigo has an indoor and outdoor riding arena, and the mission of Latigo is to serve as the focused hub of youth equestrian and agricultural activity through a first-class facility, partnerships, programs, and proactive community outreach. This facility is used by 4-H Little Britches Association, which brings youth from all over the state every Tuesday evening. We also started the Pikes Peak Rangerettes, which is our female drill team, consisting of 22 young ladies that are the age of 12 to 20. Latigo is also their home to these fine ladies. And Rachel Jane was a former Rangerette and a former Girl of the West, and now is a proud officer on your Monument Police Department, which we're very proud of. The Western Street Breakfast this year will start our 76th ride, June 20th, to promote and support the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo right downtown in Colorado Springs, where 160-ish horses and businessmen and cowboys will depart from downtown Colorado Springs. Following myself tonight, you will hear from Chris Whitney, who is the president of the rodeo, followed by Corliss Palmer with the Girls of the West. Thank you so much for your time tonight and this evening, and we look forward to seeing you at the rodeo July 9th through the 13th. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. I'm a little gimpy, too many years in the saddle, apparently. So catching up with me. So what a nice set of awards for your, yeah, excellent. Hard to follow that. I'm Chris Whitney. As Greg mentioned, I'm the president of the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo this year, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the rodeo, which many of you are very familiar with. This is the 83rd Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo, believe it or not. Hard to imagine it's been that long. And many of you know the history. We started in 1937. Spencer Penrose started the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo. And we took a brief hiatus during the Second World War and during the pandemic last year. But other than that, we've been up and operating every year since 1937. Our mission, I know you know, is to promote Western heritage, Western culture, the Western way of life, and also, and extremely importantly, to support active duty military families in the Pikes Peak region and provide them with quality of life initiatives, and we've been doing that since 1937. All the proceeds, I think, as all of you know, all the net proceeds of the rodeo go to the military. We don't keep any of that. It doesn't go anywhere else. It goes to help our men and women in the military in the Pikes Peak region. We had, although we've been around for a long time, in 2022, we had a kind of a sea change, which is kind of neat for all of us in this region. We partnered with with the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, the PRCA, which is located here in our region and is a citizen of our region, has been a longtime citizen of our region. So now our rodeo is not just the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo, which from our perspective is kind of a big deal, but it's a bigger deal now. It is the NFR Open, the National Final Rodeo Open at the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo. This will be the third annual of those. And that's important because it increases our scope, it increases our range in the area, it increases popularity, increases people who come to the area to see it. This is one of the great rodeos in the country. It's a big time rodeo. There's absolutely no way to say it otherwise. Over 200 men and women participate in the rodeo. They're all champions in their own right. They come from 12 rodeo circuits in the United States, one rodeo circuit in Canada, and champions from Mexico as well. So we have a terrific international flavor. And I'm a horse guy, so I will tell you that there are an equal number of terrific four-legged athletes who participate in this rodeo as well, and I love looking at them. So once upon a time, we did 5 rodeos over 4 days. We do 7 rodeos over 5 days now. This is a big deal. These men and women participate and are competing for $1 million in prize money. This brings a lot of attention to Colorado, to El Paso County, to all of us here, which is a good thing. We have a tremendous amount of community support, and we are grateful to you and others who provide that. We have about 600 volunteers who put the rodeo on every year. These are civilians and military personnel as well, so they all get together and do this. And we have a lot of folks who do it every single year because they love the mission and they love what they're doing. So it is terrific. They make it happen. I'm going to defer. I'm a poor warm-up act for the real stars of the show, which is the Girls of the West. So I will shut up and defer to the Girls of the West. And I will defer to Corliss Palmer, who is the mom of the Girls of the West, and to the Girls of the West. And we are grateful to you very much for the chance to talk with you this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, and thanks for having us. I'm a 23-year volunteer for the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo. And my job ever since I began in 2002 has been to direct the Girls of the West. Girls of the West, and as such, I schedule and escort them to 150 appearances every day, or every summer, from the middle of May till the middle of July. So we're really busy. The Girl of the West program started 102 years ago in 1922 with Dawn Norris as the first Girl of the West, and it's stronger than ever now. The Girl of the West is selected from a competition of horsemanship, speech, interview, appearance, and that contest will be on July 11th during the rodeo. We have some posters and some flyers out in the lobby that we appreciate putting up in your city if you could do that. And I'll introduce the girls. McKenna Norton is the 2024 Girl of the West. She's the 20-year-old daughter of Jeff and Kristen Norton. She's been involved in many realms of the equestrian community, including Colorado Hunter Jumper Association, Interscholastic Equestrian Association, and the Pikes Peak Rangerettes. She also served as the 2022 El Paso County Fair Queen. She's studying communications at the University of Wyoming. She hopes to have a career with that. She can incorporate rodeo with her study. And she likes to ride horses and spend time with family and dogs. Annika Normandy is our 2024 Aide to Girl of the West. This will actually be our last aide. We're changing our program to have one Girl of the West because it's a tough commitment for college students to serve 2 summers. So anyway, Annika will be our last and best aide to Girl of the West. She's the 18-year-old daughter of Rich Normandy and Kristen Seitz. She was a member of the El Paso County Hearts and Hooves 4-H Club for 8 years. And she served as a member of the Pikes Peak Rangerettes and was captainer last year. One of her best equine accomplishments was the APHA Youth Champion at 2023 National Western Stock Show. She's very involved with the military aspect of the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo because her dad just retired from 26 years in the Air Force and her mom's active in the U.S. Navy. So, enjoy the Girls of the West.
Hi, I'm McKenna, the Girl of the West, and I'm Monica, Aide to Girl of the West. We serve as the proud ambassadors of the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo, and we are so excited to let you know that pro rodeo cowboys and cowgirls from across the U.S., Canadian circuits, and champions from Mexico will all be heading to Colorado Springs, July 9th through the 13th. With over $1 million in payouts, they'll be competing to win. This is where champions and careers are made. The speed, the excitement, there's no better place to be than at the NFR Open at the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo. Over 200 contestants will bring their talents to the scenic and historic Norris Penrose Event Center to compete in bareback riding, breakaway roping, steer wrestling, team roping, saddle bronc riding, tie-down roping, barrel racing, and bull riding. The finals will be held Saturday night, July 13th, when the National Circuit Champions will be crowned. I'd like to take a minute to let you know that the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo is a very special event to me, and I know it is for McKenna and her family too. It's important to us because of everything that it stands for, representing our Western heritage and values, hosting one of the top professional rodeos in the country, and most of all, giving back to our local military and their families. So I'm grateful to be representing this legacy event that brings people together to celebrate all that's good about our country and the growing sport of professional rodeo, all while honoring our local military and their families. Our local military are honored at each performance. U.S. Army, SMDC, and MPA on Tuesday evenings. Fort Carson 4th Infantry Division on Wednesday evening. First responders and 302nd Airlift Wing on Thursday evening. Guard Reserve units and educators at the Friday matinee. Space Night on Friday night. The United States Air Force Academy at the Saturday matinee. And NORAD U.S. Northcom on Saturday evening. The Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo has been proudly giving back to our local military and their families since 1946. Proud indeed, Annika. I can say without a doubt that this year's rodeo is going to be incredible. Every minute of every performance. The NFR Open at the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo is held July 9th through the 13th, with evening performances Tuesday through Saturday and matinee performances on Friday and Saturday. Evening performances will begin at 7 p.m., with matinee performances starting at noon. Grounds open at 10 a.m. for matinee performances and 4 p.m. for evening performances. There's tons to do before the rodeo begins, with lots of vendors for shopping, lots of options to grab a bite to eat or something to drink, and plenty of fun to be had in the fan zone for kids and grown-ups too. If you want to skip the traffic, and who doesn't, then you can leave the driving to us and take our free luxury shuttles. Just park at the garage at Costilla and Tejon. It's free. And our shuttles will bring you and your family to the rodeo and back to your car after the rodeo, or even after some fun in the Coors Roadhouse Saloon. Each performance starts with the Pikes Peak Range Rider Pivots and Pikes Peak Rangerette drill teams, followed by the El Paso County Sheriff's Office Mounted Patrol Unit. Then it's top rodeo action and then some, as well as fan favorite mutton busting. We all love to watch these fierce kiddos give it their all at hopes of winning a trophy and a medal. Plus, our specialty act this year is amazing. Jessica Blair Folks and Dusty Dixon are the best trick riders in the nation. They are thrilling to watch. Then, after the rodeo, stick around for autographs from the contestants, the Rangerette, visiting royalty, and the Girls of the West. That's us. Then live music and dancing await at the Coors Roadhouse Saloon. I'm going to be watching for you to wave back at us from our awesome pink Ram truck from Perkins Motors. We'll be heading out all over town to promote our rodeo at businesses, military installations, and community events, and stopping by our generous sponsors who help make this event possible. And speaking of community events, I hope to see you all bright and early on June 20th at the annual Colorado Springs Western Street Breakfast and the official send-off for the Pikes Peak Range Riders annual ride. I'm counting on seeing each of you at this year's rodeo. The dates again are Tuesday, July 9th through Saturday, July 13th. Save time and get the best pricing by buying your tickets online at pikespeakerbus.org. And check out our website for more information and to make your rodeo experience a great one. The NFR Open at the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo is for the true fan, the first timer, and everyone in between. It's rodeo time. The NFR Open at the Pikes Peak Bus Rodeo is July 9th through the 13th at the Norris Penrose Event Center in Colorado Springs. See you there.
Well, you gave me an idea for monument to have the mounted patrol unit or some mutton busting. So Chief, being that budget season's coming up,
Horses.
couple horses and some, we've got some people that could educate our forces on how to do that too.
Yeah.
You
Thank
know,
you for that.
you know, he's from Arizona like me, and we had something similar to this in Arizona. You weren't on the Scottsdale Mounted Patrol ever?
No, they didn't have horses small enough.
He could have written a button. Any questions from the council
Thank you for
or
coming.
comments?
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You guys always do an awesome presentation.
Yep. Thank you. Next up, we have the most popular topic of the night. I don't really know how you follow that, Mona, but
It would be
If-
impossible.
we
Let's talk tax.
let's talk sales tax, because why not?
Yeah, but we don't hear you unless you talk loud.
I'm gonna let Sophia Hasman, she's gonna be online. So she's already, you can see her.
Oh, nice to meet you. Yeah.
Sophia.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I believe we have a presentation for you, but wanted to basically update you on the self-collection project and how our phases are coming along since we started effectively in March once we got the contract signed. So I'm just going to talk about the two pre-preparation phases we have, which is March through May. And the second one, June through September. Our anticipated go live of October 1st, future phases, and address any questions you may have. So with the preparation phase, our goal was to get a system for return remittance. We have that in process, and we are about to get to, further testing with that. But we're also working with the state to obtain all of the list of customers and taxpayers that operate or have returns with Monument. We also did an audit of the state and the town license data, which are effectively different reports. One is the business license data that Tina maintains on the businesses in your town. And the second is, what the state says is in our town. We did have some questions with some businesses to verify their licensing numbers with the state. And Tina, was very helpful in sending out those questionnaires and answering their questions back through that kind of audit process. So as I explained with getting the system, we're just currently in the discovery phase. So we're providing them key payment info, business profile fields of what we want the system to obtain and retain with when businesses get registered through there. And then we've provided them a sales tax return format for implementation and testing. And we are looking forward to meeting with them soon on how to navigate the system setup. And then they'll begin coding, and it's a series of testing and programming for many months before we go live, just to make sure the product is working functionally. So that's to come. With the state data, the town data, and the business queries, we did contact businesses for information on their reporting just to tie it back to the state data. We did find some businesses that may not have been coded to monument. And so we've been working with the state to get those back coded to monument. And then we're anticipating that there will be revenue sharing from the state back to monument for that those corrections made. In the new system, each business will only have one return to complete. But if businesses have two locations in this town, then they will have two returns to complete. So, for example, if McDonald's is owned by the same franchisee, then we'll have two McDonald's reports in the new system just to differentiate the revenues from each location and make sure we're getting all that's needed. So that process has been interesting and very helpful in us narrowing down the data and the scope of what's operating in monument, what we need to have licensed, what's coming in from the state, et cetera. In the next set of phases, we're going to be going through June through September. And I think on your slide, we just need to move forward a couple, number 6. So with that, we're just getting in the programming phases. I said with the GovOS, that's the system of record that we signed on with for the sales tax collection and remittance. And then we are working on municipal code drafts with Bob, Mona, and Pat, and have started that process. And along with that, we've been looking at what currently is taxable with the statutory collection process and what, we want the code to look like, and making sure we're not adding things in that would violate any TABOR issues. And it came up that with some questions, currently as a statutory collection town, you have only use tax on construction materials and use tax on motor vehicles. And that use tax is basically a substitute or complementary to sales taxes. But your use tax rate is actually different than the sales tax rate. So this would be some maybe future ballot question to the people to even those out, because if someone were to buy a car from an auto dealer that charged them sales tax in monument and then they remit it as sales tax, they're going to be charged a higher rate of 3.5% versus the county motor vehicle registration that's going to be charging them only the 2% tax. So there's about a 1.5 differential between your use tax and your sales tax. And ideally, those are the same. So there's no advantage one way or the other, or disadvantage for people to be going through one process or another regarding their purchase or with sales tax, or them going to the county. So that's something that came up in our code review. And then also many towns enact with the ballot provisions, general consumers use tax. So for example, if you're buying chairs for your office, you can go down to, the office supply store in your town and pay 3.5% sales tax. But if you bought them from out of town and didn't pay sales tax, they have a complimentary consumer's use tax that would still even the playing field for the businesses that have to collect and remit monument tax. So that's something to think about as a potential ballot question is, do you want a general consumer's use tax? And, or do you want to increase the use tax on motor vehicles and construction materials to level the playing field between the sales and the use tax perspective? That's a lot of information I just gave you about that, but we wanted, it kind of came up today when we were looking at the code. So I wanted to definitely bring that to your attention to think about. And I'm sure we'll have future discussions, but I'm going to just pause for a minute to see if you have questions on that issue.
I'll just jump in for a second. So you're saying that the use tax is less than the sales tax? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we're good.
Okay. And again, those two things, an increase in the rate or, the base of a consumer's use tax as well would be something that needs to go to the vote of the people. We're going to be working on having a detailed website for tax information. That will also include the link for the sales tax system that we'll be using, but also other general information on how to use that new system for the public, as well as detailed things about what are taxable and not, so that they have plenty of resources and education. And that's also part of our overall education plan for the business community as we get further along. We want to make sure that they know what's coming and that we can help them with the transition from reporting directly to the state to reporting to Monument. And then we have a process where there's a formal notification required to the state with our self-collection and the go live date. And that also needs to include our enacted ordinance for self-collection and sales tax and use tax. So those kind of all go together in the upcoming months. And then the go live phase, we'll be onboarding new businesses. Some businesses will be coded as monthly filers based on their filing frequency with the state. We will kind of keep that filing frequency set, but they'll need to remit their first return by November 20th. The quarterly filers wouldn't remit their return until January, and then the annual filers would also have to remit their return for January for the entire year. So not everyone may have a return in the first month that we are working with the community, but there's going to be quite a few that will be there. So we'll want to make sure that we're communicating with them and that if they do remit a return, that they're doing it correctly in the first period.
Good question. Can you give me an example of somebody who would be an annual remitter?
So in the state's filing frequency designation, it would be that they owe less than $15 of tax per month. And then the quarterly is less than $300 per month. And then once you get over $300, it's set to monthly filing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so, small boutique shops or people who have occasional sales, maybe like a hair salon that might sell some shampoo may have, a lower filing frequency than your, standard businesses that collect tax every day. Okay. So the next phase after the go live phase would be, future phases and expanding, potentially looking at audits, voluntary disclosure agreements, construction use tax compliance is listed here. Construction use tax right now is based on a deposit program. So they basically go in and get a permit. They pay 50% tax on 50% of the total valuation of the job. And in many towns and cities, there's change orders and other things that come through. And then they say, my materials aren't 50%, my materials are 30% and 70% labor, or vice versa. There's a process that can be done to kind of bring them into compliance and make sure to either, give them back over amounts of deposits, as a refund, or collect on the differential of what would actually be due on materials in construction projects around the town. And then lodging taxes and STR compliance. I know a few weeks ago, we talked about the lodging tax ballot question. So that will also come into play. So if that does go to the vote of the people and passes, that would be coming live January 1st of 2025. And then we'd want to make sure that they also know what their responsibilities are.
So Sophia, I got a quick question on this.
Yeah, of course.
The construction use tax, that's a voluntary audit on that. I mean, if somebody goes in and pays the 50% deposit, that's not that it needs to necessarily be audited, but probably would be if they paid too much. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so generally, if they come back to you for a refund, it means that they've looked through their records and they think their overall materials and potentially any other sales taxes they paid are more than what would be due to Monument. So that's usually where it comes in, is a self-reconciliation process. And then the town could, have that audited and verify that, yes, that refund is sufficient. Unfortunately, we don't see them coming forward a lot saying I owe more taxes.
Exactly
Typically in other towns, but there might be a need for big projects to potentially audit some of those permits that were pulled and make sure we're including all change orders, all materials and things like that in the process, which could bring in basically audit tax compliance revenue to the town, through a different format than a traditional sales tax audit.
Okay, so more or less that's voluntary then.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
I'll just jump in real quick. There are some cities and towns that do require reconciliations to be confirmed, which could be part of our process in the future, for jobs over a certain dollar amount. So, but again, it's more paperwork and processing, and we need to make sure we have staffing to do that. So all of these areas are definitely good to explore for tax compliance purposes in the future. And I think that's all I have. So are there any other questions?
Any questions from council members?
Thank you.
Anything, Mona, you would like to add?
Not at this moment.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Sophia. Appreciate the presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Next up, we have a public hearing item, ordinance number 14, 2024, or an ordinance concerning the carrying of firearms in public spaces. Allison, will you be driving this one?
I certainly can, if that would be helpful.
Yes, please.
All right, so there is an ordinance in your packet. Bob Cole sent a memo to everybody earlier today that hopefully you saw, that explains what the ordinance does, and I can go through that. And then very importantly, points out that this ordinance might have been drafted more broadly than what council wants. So Senate Bill 24-131 prohibits the carrying of firearms in the chambers where local government's governing bodies located, where local government's meetings are, and then in the office of the CEO level employee. The definition of firearms includes open carry of firearms as well as properly permitted concealed carry. So the statute allows the town to reverse this prohibition, which is what this ordinance does. So it's come to our attention since we prepared this that perhaps the intent was not to allow open carry, but only to allow properly permitted concealed carry. So if that's the case, we can either table this ordinance and bring it back on July 15th with that clarification between open and concealed carry, or you can move to approve it tonight with a modification to the ordinance that I can provide to you.
Okay, thank you. So this is up for discussion with the council, obviously, and this is a public hearing item, so we will be discussing with the public. But first, has everybody had a chance to read Mr. Cole's memo and the proposed changes?
Yeah.
Quite obviously, the intent was to not allow people walking into town hall with shotguns and ARs. It was to maintain the status quo that we've held for many years, bless you, which allowed people to conceal carry in town hall if they're properly registered to do so.
I'm probably gonna regret asking this question, but what was the purpose of Senate Bill 24-131?
The sensitive spaces bill
Yeah.
was originally to have the state determine what they deemed to be a sensitive space. And originally it included, it ended with it just being pretty much the state capitol, schools, both state schools, school districts, and they added local government buildings as well, but they allowed local government to opt out. It was much more restrictive when it started, and as time passed on, they were able to get some things struck or modified so that municipalities could determine for themselves if they wanted to keep it or rescind it.
As they should. I'd be just in favor of just my 2 cents is passing it with a correction.
Right, rather than tabling it, you mean?
Right.
Okay. And so the purpose of this ordinance is to, like you said, retain status quo.
Correct. Well, with the modification, it would read
Previous to the Senate bill.
correct.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm still unclear as to why we would create an ordinance to go against another layer of protection for staff and town employees, keeping someone, doesn't necessarily keep someone from walking in with a gun, but it gives a defined law where they can be held accountable and punished for. So why, I don't understand why we would not want that to protect town employees, staff, anyone else that's in the building at the time. And I'm not, also, I mean, I'd like to hear the input from the chief of police on as to, like, I think this is a good bill. I think it's a good bill coming down from the state capitol altogether. With everything going on in the world, all the craziness happening that's been going on, it's one of those questions. It's not if, it's when. And here's an opportunity to potentially get ahead of the issue where there's a defined law now that can be punished where before there wasn't.
From the police department perspective, I would say that in my experience, a properly permitted concealed carry owner is not normally our offender. And potentially they are the ones that stop some of our shootings. I don't have a stance on it. I'm just saying from a law enforcement perspective, because I don't want to sway an opinion here. But I believe that would apply to everyone on the council too. And that'll just be something for you to think about as to who should be armed in here and who shouldn't. I do agree that we shouldn't have open carry and we shouldn't allow for, displays and whatever that might turn into, but a properly permitted gun owner, in my opinion, has done more good than bad.
I would completely agree with Chief on this, and I don't think it's a good thing coming from a very very, very communist capital, in my personal opinion. And I would want the ability to protect myself or somebody else to anybody, any criminal isn't going to care. If they have intent to do bad, they're going to conceal and carry illegally and hurt somebody. I'd rather have somebody who is legal to be able to protect. And that's my firm stance on that.
Well, currently we have, and for some period of time, we've allowed concealed carry within this building and not allowed open carry. And the reason that it's probably worked and may have deterred someone, that we can't really say for sure, is because we do allow that. But as Chief said, properly permitted concealed carry holders are probably some of the most law-abiding citizens that there are. So the ones that we got to worry about are the ones that don't follow the law, not the people who do follow the law. And
they're not going to obey it anyway.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Well, there is if they're not licensed to conceal carry. And
that was gonna be my question is, isn't there a law that says that if you conceal carry and you're not permitted, that's against that's essentially breaking the law already? Or how does that, I'm obviously clueless, so educate me. What, I show up with a gun, I don't have a CCW, what does that happen? What happens? Other than me getting arrested? Like,
I mean, that's pretty much what happens. Yeah.
right? I mean,
so I think what we're talking about is usually it's a prohibited possessor, right? If we're talking about maybe a career criminal or someone looking to do harm in here that can't possess a gun, whether it's concealed or not, that would be the criminal element that we would be trying to root out to really, enforce the law on.
okay. So essentially, there's already a law in place to punish people who don't follow the law.
Correct.
Yeah, this is just in order to get us to where we've always been.
No,
yeah,
what I'm
okay.
saying is SB 131, SB whatever, 24-131 just adds a layer of bureaucracy to something that already existed, essentially.
Let's take the element of the gun out for a second.
Sure.
Okay, or the weapon, or the Second Amendment. Sitting on the Legislative Council, as Mayor Pro Tem King and I do, and the unbelievable amount of hours we sit and watch testimony and bills being debated, regardless of the fact that this impacts the Second Amendment, it more impacts our home rule authority. Okay. So we have a charter. It's embedded in the beginning part of our charter that we happen to be partial to the Second Amendment and the Constitution. We have a resolution that was passed in 2013 that indicated that we are a pro 2A community. If we don't do this, we are basically saying that we are no longer a pro A2 community, as well as we are overriding our charter in a way because we're telling people they can no longer come in here and be a gun carrying member of society legally, because we are saying that no, you can't. So we are now imposing a more restrictive measure based on what the state has told us we have to do.
Right, we're allowing the state to override our charter.
Correct.
Okay.
And so that would be like the state saying you can't speak a certain way or use certain words, right? It's an amendment to the Constitution. The state should not have authority to override anything related to the Constitution.
I disagree with you. And I don't think that as a gun owner and this doesn't offend me. I don't feel like it's an infringement on my Second Amendment rights. I think it's the right thing to do. It provides potentially another layer of protection for our employees who won't feel intimidated if they happen to see a weapon of some sort. But that's my.
Well, it's supposed to be concealed, so they shouldn't see it.
It's supposed to be, but sometimes somebody turns, bends, opens up their jacket or they see a bulge. There's all kinds of things. And I think the majority of folks that are law-abiding citizens would not find this offensive.
Okay, well, this is a public hearing item. We can come back and,
One last question.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm unclear why we need to allow people to come into a meeting like this and have a weapon other than our police officers that are trained. Why does someone need to feel the need to have a concealed carry or open carry to one of these meetings?
Well, it wouldn't be
That-
open.
It's not.
We are currently allow that.
we currently have that ability to do that. And for the next 2 weeks, we have the ability to do that before this state law goes into effect. So I don't know when the previous law was in effect at the state level, or if there was any ordinance that was passed in Monument, but the sign on the door says no open carry, which means everybody in here who's sitting here today, including those of us up here, could very well be legally carrying concealed and
With a license.
permitted by the sheriff of El Paso County. And it's part of our Second Amendment right to do so. So
Just like at a grocery store or any place else that.
Why would someone still need to come to a town meeting with a concealed carry then? Why? That does not make me feel safer. I don't own a gun. I'm not anti-Constitution one bit. But if somebody in here, it would actually make me feel more nervous if they felt the need to conceal carry and come to one of our meetings.
Well, I guess the other argument here is if this is a known gun-free zone, then wouldn't that make us a target for somebody who doesn't care about the law?
100%.
To piggyback on what he just said, the issue is not so much the law-abiding citizen, because they're following the law. If they have a CCW with their concealed carry, they just proved that they're following the law. The issue is the individual that doesn't follow the law. And this does nothing. SB 24-131, to me, I haven't read it, but I don't see how it protects people who, or back up. I don't see how it does anything against folks that don't follow the law. It's restricting.
Those that do.
Those that do even further. And to me, that's the issue. That's what I was saying. You're adding another layer, an unnecessary layer to laws that already exist. If you want to conceal carry, you go to the sheriff, you get fingerprinted, you go through the training course.
which will be with the new law that was passed also, the training course will be significantly greater than it was today. So I think it's 8 hours coming up. Okay, so it's going to be more of a challenge
Yeah.
and a skill that you have to pass in the future than it definitely is today. I'm just saying,
No,
that's what's coming. All right, so let's open it up to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak for or against this ordinance? Okay,
have one follow-up.
well, hang on, we're doing
Sorry.
public stuff. We'll bring it back. Will, is there anybody online with their hands up that would like to speak for or against this ordinance?
There is not, Mayor.
Okay, then we'll bring it back to the council for further discussion.
I do have a question for Allison. Can we do a motion with the caveat?
The modification.
The
She said we could.
We could? Okay, all right.
It's in the memo.
Okay.
It is number 2 in the memo, where it would be a move to approve the ordinance with the following amendment in proposed section 9.24.050 A of the municipal code, delete quote, firearms, comma, including, unquote. Correct, Ms. Ulmer?
That's correct.
Okay, or we can continue this to wait till it's properly done. I mean,
I'm going to make a motion to approve ordinance number 14-2024 with the following amendment and propose section 9.24.050, comma, A of the municipal code, delete, quote, firearms, comma, including, end quote.
we have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson.
Yes.
Yeah. Councilmember Kimpel,
My vote is no. I would like to see the layer of protection that this 24 TAC 131 provides for the safety and security of our town staff and all its employees that work in and out of this building.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
I am not ready to vote on this, so I'm gonna vote no. I'd rather wait till July 15th, but my vote is no tonight.
Councilmember Manila,
Did you say? Oh, I didn't hear you over that. It was me, yes.
yes. And Councilmember Chronic.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-2. And this is an ordinance, Ms. Ulmer, what is the effective date? Is there a delay?
Mayor, it would be 10 days after publication on the town's website, which would happen tomorrow.
Okay, so 10 days after tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to resolutions. We have a resolution to appoint an alternate member of the Planning Commission. Mr. Ungerleider, are you prepared for that? Are you prepared?
He's like, ah. That's the way you asked the question.
I know. It was meant to be.
Humor, I was not offended. So we currently have 7 members of our planning commission. The ordinance also accounts for 2 alternate members. Most recently, we lost one of those alternate members, Sean Brown. He moved out of town. So we have 2 vacant positions. And we received an application from Donna Hatch. She's a local realtor. She's here. I don't have to speak for her at all tonight. This is great. I was going to say how happy she was to even be considered. So the alternate position is to make sure that we have a quorum at our planning commission meetings when needed. I think we have some very important projects and cases that we'll be looking at in the next 12 months or more. So it's very important that we keep a full and excited and honorable and amazing and bar-free group of people to assist you in public hearings and listening to cases and making recommendations to you. So staff is recommending that and asking for you to appoint Donna Hatch as an alternate member effective March. Let's see, she'd be effective March 13th of 2024, which would be when we lost our last alternate, and her term would be through December 31st of 2025. I've also included some additional information with the memo that I included in the agenda packet. You'll note there's some question marks. I'm trying to figure out some of the record keeping for some of the existing counselors. I know that Counselor Hours has already expressed that I might have a wrong date. It's very, very possible that I have the wrong date, so I'll be updating that information and putting that on our website.
Councilman Hours or planning commissioner Hours is going to resign.
Commissioner,
Does that mean he's going to resign or retire? Is that what you're saying?
He thought he was able to be appointed for another term.
Oh.
I have him down as being his last term.
Oh, got it.
That information. I will get, again, post that on our website and share that with you. I have the right.
Okay. Ms. Hatch, would you like to come on down and tell us a little about yourself? I mean, I know we've got your questionnaire here, but maybe you'd like to fill us in a little bit why you think you'd be a good addition to the planning commission?
Oh, can you hear me? Okay. Hi, I'm Donna Hatch. I'm a real estate agent with ERA Shows Real Estate. I've been there since 2012. My husband and I moved here originally in 1998. He was active duty Air Force and retired after 25 years. We've made this our monument, our home since 2012. And I just love my job, but I'm getting to the point where I'm ready to retire. And I just want to give back to the community that has made us feel at home. Since I'm a real estate agent, I feel like I could help in the planning committee. Yes, that's it.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Hatch?
I know Donna from our neighborhood.
Oh.
She's wonderful. She's awesome. So.
Oh, so we have credibility.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for being willing to step up and volunteer.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
But checks in the mail. Yeah.
Thank you.
I lost it.
Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, I will look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 35-2024, a resolution appointing an alternate member of the planning commission.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson?
Councilmember Romanella,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Aye.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimpel.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. Welcome. I don't know what their indoctrination ceremony is like. It may be hazing. I'm not really sure, but
Don't tell us about it.
yeah, don't tell. We don't want to know. Good luck to you and thank you for being part of our community.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
All right. I think we are ready to finally do Zeal. Public hearing item, resolution 04-2024. A resolution approving a final plat for Zeal at Jackson Creek. Mr. Ungerleider.
That I do not have a touch screen, so I keep tapping the screen and it doesn't do nothing.
Get harder.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as you said, Mayor, this has been a long time coming. There's been a lot of work, a lot of conversation, and discussion and debate. And tonight, the Dobby Development Group is requesting a final plat of a subdivision approval. This is a piece of property. It's about a 20-acre piece of property at the southeast corner of Bowstring at Bigby Road. The property is zoned for residential. And we've gone after quite a bit of discussion. The property, let's see. Apologize, I lost my train of thought here. So the property is surrounded by residential to the north, being in El Paso County. The property to the south is Jackson Creek North filing number 3, which is a planned residential development, single family. To the east is Jackson Creek North filing number 4, which is also a planned development, residential single family. And to the west is vacant, planned multi-use district. The final plat of subdivision now includes a revised right-of-way dedication along Higby Road of 30 feet in width, which increases the total right-of-way width for Higby Road from 70 feet to 100 feet. This is per direction of council and request of council. The plat also vacates a north-south utility easement that bifurcates the property. The utilities that are located in there will be relocated to the perimeter of the property and buried. Staff and its
consulting engineer have reviewed the plat of subdivision and have found it to be in compliance with the town's development code. There are no changes to the subject property's underlying zoning designation or land use being requested or considered at this time. So with that, I open it up for any questions, but we're seeking a motion to approve the attached resolution number 2024, resolution approving a final plat for Zeal at Jackson Creek. Final plat is presented. The petitioner or the applicant is also here tonight if there's any questions.
I just want to confirm and just publicly say that, so the difference in anything we've seen before is they did capitulate to the road widening, based on Mr. King's research and, Mayor Pro Tem's King's research and our request to be at 100 feet. Is that the only changes or modifications since we first seen this?
That is correct.
Okay.
The plat of subdivision that was included in your packet shows a 30-foot right-of-way dedication, which will then relocate the northern property line 30 feet deeper into this property. There's still going to be an easement running along that property line and actually the whole perimeter of the site. I think that's about it. That is what the plat does.
Okay, I just want to clarify that that's the adjustment. Thank you.
So how does this 30-foot get dedicated? Is it dedicated currently or it will be dedicated by deed, or how does this work?
When this plat of subdivision is recorded, that property will be dedicated right away to the town of Monument. It will become part of the Higbee Road right of way.
Okay, so it will show up on the assessor's website as town of Monument property. Is that how it works?
That's my understanding. Yes, sir.
Okay, and the plat shows it at 20 point something acres, and but the lot says 19.1 something acres. So the densities that are attributed to this property are based on the 19 acres. Is that how that works?
When they make their application, they'll be bringing a 19-acre lot to the table, and we'll be reviewing it per the ordinances per our development code for 19-acre site. So we will be looking at the density requirement, the density standards for 19-acre property.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And we got the question answered as far as where the easement lies. Good with that?
Well, there's the only easement is the utility easement. That's
Right.
a 20-foot utility easement south of the property line.
Okay, so it's
Right.
south of the right of way.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
That's what I'm seeing anyway.
this is a public hearing item, so I want to make sure we get all of our questions out of the way. Any questions? You're good? Everybody down here, good?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so anybody want to hear from the applicant? We've heard from them before, okay?
They did what we want.
Well, unless they want to speak about something, I mean,
Okay, well, let's go to the public and see if there's anybody here from the public that'd like to speak for or against this item.
U.S. Constitution, state constitution.
Life-saving.
yeah. It's like the monument from the old days.
If I may say, very respectful and robust discussion. Much know as a resident, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, my name is Jason Gross. I live at 224 Oxbow Drive, Monument, Colorado. I am a Town of Monument resident and a member of the Tri-View Metropolitan District Board of Directors. On behalf of the Tri-View Board, I would like to express our support of residential and commercial development south of Higbee Road in the Town of Monument. The fees from this development makes the safety improvements to Higbee Road next to Lewis Palmer High School possible. Without these fees, Tri-View residents will have to approve a significant tax increase to pay for these improvements. Obtaining approval of a tax increase will at a minimum cause a significant delay to the improvements and most likely terminate making these safety improvements possible for our high school students, school staff, and monument residents who use Higbee Road and Jackson Creek Parkway. The Town of Monument and Triview Metropolitan District have been collaborating on making safety improvements to Higbee Road since 2019. I think perhaps one of us in here at least was part of that. If I get any details wrong, feel free to correct me. When the town council and, since 2019, sorry, when the town council and Triview board saw the need for safety improvements next to Lewis Palmer High School. It was clear to leadership at that time that El Paso County would not make timely improvements, so the town annexed the road into the Town of Monument, and Triview included the road into its service area. Triview committed to designing and constructing the improvements on behalf of the town residents, using a combination of funding techniques, including developer contributions, Triview road and bridge fees, and cash payments from the Triview Metropolitan District. Triview has already spent almost $783,000 in ensuring road design met town requirements and prioritized safety. I would like to assure you the number one directive we gave to the Triview professional staff as board members was safety for Lewis Palmer High School students and the community. Regardless of town council approving the Zeal development project in question, housing is continuing to be built along Higbee Road, both in the town and in El Paso County. Vehicles speed down the hillside towards Jackson Creek Parkway, and Jackson Creek Parkway also continues to grow in traffic. The Town of Monument and Triview's 5-year-long collaboration to make these safety improvements can finally get started this summer if Triview has the resources to do so. The developers for the projects south of Higbee Road have been outstanding partners in providing money up front to do the road improvement design work, and their fees will make the safety improvements affordable to Triview and the Town of Monument residents. The Triview Board of Directors supports Town Council approval of the Zeal development. We greatly appreciate Town of Monument's collaboration over the years to improve safety for our residents. And with approval, we will finally be able to see the success of our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very well. Very nice. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak to this development or this resolution? Okay, see none. Will, is there anybody online?
No one online.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the council for further discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 4-2024. Resolution approving a final plan for Zeal at Jackson Creek.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. I am glad that we finally got that one out of the way.
I think they are too.
And it's gonna be done tomorrow, right?
Right. When do you guys break ground? Is there a ribbon cutting set up already? Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to the next resolution, 25-2024. This is for final plat for Monument Lake Beachfront.
The private road, right?
Yeah, before we start, the packet is short. I think we're missing some pages on this. It's just the memo. So I've got, was that by design?
Yes, sir.
So no drawings.
I'm asking you not to approve anything tonight.
Oh,
We're kicking it down the road.
oh,
Okay. Easy.
okay.
Until when?
So to the July 15th meeting, we'll be coming back to you with a resolution as well as first an ordinance vacating. I'm sorry, they're both ordinances. The first ordinance will be to vacate what was labeled tract F in that subdivision. We want to vacate that area and then, 'cause right now it's shown as wagon. We're gonna vacate it and then we're gonna consolidate it with the rest of the properties. Make a nice, clean, single lot subdivision for the beachfront properties. So we'll come back on July 15th if that works for you.
Yes.
Do a continuation. Oh,
Good explained. Okay, so we were going to look for a motion to continue this resolution to July 15th.
I move that we continue resolution number 25-2024, a resolution approving final plat for the Monument Lake Beachfront filing number 1 to July 15th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimball,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
aye.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That motion passed to continue 7-0. All right.
Thank you.
Next up, public comment. Individuals attending in person may raise their hand to indicate their desire to comment. Individuals attending via Teams may raise their hand digitally to comment via connected devices. Please lower your hand when finished with your comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody here in Town Hall that would like to make a comment? Okay. Will, do we have anybody online that would like to make a comment? Okay. Back to in Town Hall, going once, twice. Okay. We'll move on to council authorization items. I know that there are some folks that would like to get some things on council authorization items for future agendas. First up, Mr. Romanello.
Yeah, I'd like to get a discussion item on the next meeting on July 15th on getting on the ballot for the public a ballot item to bring the city clerk back under the authority of town council. So there is checks and balances as our country was founded, and balance of power, and a whole lot of other reasons. But I am very adamant about discussing this more and getting this on the ballot.
Okay, so that's one item. Is there any, yeah, we'll discuss it, obviously.
Discussion.
Yeah, discussion item.
Real quick, for ballot item, what's the drop dead date to get it on the ballot?
It's September.
September. Okay,
It's
so
September.
okay.
We got time.
Okay, thank you.
So do we have to talk about the language?
We're going to discuss the topic.
Yeah, and then if we decide to, I would hope that on the next meeting, we could make a resolution to get it on the ballot and language, et cetera. Yes, thank you, Ken.
Have to be in agreement.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
everybody's in agreement, then it would get drafted by
Bob or,
Council.
yeah.
Town clerk, was it the town clerk ever under?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before the home rule charter got in place.
Statutorily, that's required.
Yep, and it brings,
For statutory.
it brings great checks and balances, and as we have an absentee consulting attorney that's not a staff attorney here, it allows for great accountability, that if there is trouble in paradise in the staff, it allows somebody to come to the board without threat of termination or retaliation, and I think and that's why it was created, and as it should be.
We'll discuss further
Later.
during the discussion item.
Don't get me wound up.
All right.
Okay,
I think I know how you feel.
yeah, and I'd like to have a subject considered, also a ballot item for remuneration for the council and the mayor being paid.
We can discuss that too.
Yes.
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 I had a clarification question for Councilmember Romanello's discussion item. Would it be specific to the town clerk, or would it also include a treasurer that used to be also appointed?
Open in the discussion. Thank you.
Right. So also you want to investigate and discuss the possible payment of a stipend of some sort to the council.
Correct.
Okay, so that's another discussion item about a ballot to bring to the people. Any other council authorization items that they would like to have as a discussion item? Or any other thing that they would like to bring up? Well, we'll get to council comments, but
I would like to see a council authorization item on one of the very upcoming or meetings to get a status and review the taskers that we've been compiling on that Excel sheet. I know that we have like 30 or 40 things that we listed, but I'd like to find out like what's the status of, say, the top 10.
so how about, do you want to discuss it in executive session? Because that's, if there are items on there that have attorney-client privilege.
So
we
we're
would
talking
need,
about the legal items that.
yes, well, yes.
Well, there's both. There's general taskers, and then there are some things in there that I don't think we need to go to executive session. I think it's.
Ms. Ulmer, you want to add anything?
Yeah, to the extent that they are projects that we're working on, I'd recommend doing that in executive session.
Right, because all of these are legal projects. Some of them may rise up to discuss things that require attorney-client privilege.
But
so,
although some aren't.
But they are all with the attorney. That is a legal project list.
It'd be better to do it in.
Lists.
Yeah.
We have two different lists. So there's one that's just a council request list that Laura maintains. There's a separate list that is all like a project list with the attorneys.
I was under the impression that the last list that was sent out was desensitized so that we could see it, and that included items that were. So is there another list we have not seen?
I'm not sure what you've seen, so
Yeah.
it's hard for me to answer that.
That's the second part of what I'm bringing up is I believe that there's a need to get everyone on the same page.
So why don't we do it?
Staff members and council members.
Why don't we have an executive session so this could be discussed?
Then we can talk about everything.
Then we could talk about all of it.
Okay.
Because some of it would be silly to go back and forth on the list.
We'll just put it all on the same list.
So can we have an executive session scheduled for the 15th of July to get, well, the language will be to get advice from our attorney, I assume, but Miss Ulmer or Mr. Cole could direct what the language is to go on the agenda. Any other items? Okay, so no more council authorization items. We'll move to council comments.
So the news channel I follow, yesterday, actually every Sunday has had it's like a multi-series. And yesterday they did a series on, or as part of this urbanization series. It was Channel 5. They talked about multi-use and multi-use developments. And they mentioned that apparently there's this website, Redfin, that has a walkability ratings to rate development that is essentially walkable for residents to other things like grocery stores, entertainment, et cetera. I have not looked at Monument yet, but just something for the council to keep in mind. A lot of, because I was on the 2017 comprehensive plan write-up, and we pushed a lot of multi-use, call it projects or wish lists, and we don't have a lot of multi-use. And I think this area really could lend itself to multi-use. And there's not much left to develop that could be multi-use. Anywho, it was a very interesting special. It's like, I think it's every Sunday. Next Sunday they have another one. I think it's their final one. But I think I'm pretty sure you can get it on their website, but it was worth watching. So just a comment. Thank you.
Okay, any other council comments?
So I have a question about the planner 2 position that was posted on May 9th. Do we have a status on that?
You just stay up here.
That's it. So none of the resumes that came forward in that last recruitment passed muster. So we're actually reposted today. And then in the next 2 weeks, we hope to receive, and we made some clarifications in the job description and in the questionnaire when we do apply. And we're looking that we bring them, not just more appropriate applications for the planner too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then second, again, I'm just gonna bring up about the study sessions. I think the one that was today could have been put on the regular agenda. And I just asking to be real careful with the study sessions, and I think it just should be just to, if there's a need for an in-depth budget, a robust budget discussion, I think that would be prudent to use then. Vice just holding the past couple study sessions, I feel that could have been just rolled up in the normal agenda timeframe. So that's what I have.
Thank you. You have any comments? No. Any comments?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to say, and this has been on my heart for the last couple of months, this current board, when started, 18 months ago, I would say came out of a very tumultuous time at best. I don't even know what other adjectives to use. But it's really been, we don't always agree on everything, and we're not meant to, which is why there's 7 of us here. But I really feel that this board has really developed a respect for each other that shows, and it works well and functions. And I just want to thank my fellow board members, and I think it's become a very good functional thing. And so all I got.
Thank you, likewise.
Yep, I agree. Okay, seeing there's no other items other than to repeat 13, which was public comments. After we adjourn, we will look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.